Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with something very cool as we have Batman vs. Kong, a DC multiverse set from MacFarlane Toys, which is pretty interesting, honestly. I don't really collect Batman of any kind whatsoever, but, I do like Batman, I just don't collect his stuff. But I, of course, do love Kong, so the fact that there was such a huge Kong figure like this released, again, by MacFarlane Toys, no less, I was definitely interested. And there is actually a Godzilla coming as well, which I think releases sometime this month, sometime soon. But this set was pretty cool, and it recently went on sale on Amazon for like 40 bucks, so I was like, okay, I could definitely see me grabbing this set at that price point. The Godzilla set I'll just buy straight up, but the Kong set I was kind of waiting for a good deal on, and clearly I got it. So it looks pretty cool as far as the box and everything goes. You have a nice window area here in the front, and then you basically just have, Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong logos and stuff on the side, and then some pretty cool art, honestly, on the back. I think that does look really neat, and I feel like if this battle were to happen, it wouldn't be all that much of a battle. I feel like it would end pretty quickly. But let's go ahead, pop this box open, and check it out. So here is everything that was contained inside, as well as this card. You do get a Batman vs. Kong card, which basically shows off the same incredible artwork we had seen on the back of the packaging. And that definitely looks awesome. And then here on the back, you can see some information as well. And again, I would actually like to see comics or something like this. I don't normally read comics, but I would absolutely read a Batman vs. Kong comic. That would be awesome. And then, of course, we have everything else as far as the actual action figures go, so I'm going to remove all of them, and then we'll get a closer look at each one individually. So I guess we'll take a quick look at Batman himself really quickly. Weird to say that, not something I ever expected to review on my channel would be a Batman figure, but here we are. And obviously, to get to the Kong, we should probably take a look at Batman. And honestly, the figure looks pretty nice. You can see the sculpt is really well done, first of all. I think it looks very, very impressive. It's got some very nice looking detail. Like, you can really see, like, the shape and everything of Batman's head, and even the ears kind of like under the mask. So really impressive when it comes to the overall sculpt. The paint as well is pretty decent. It's pretty on point. We've got the eyes painted with a white. We can even see his teeth sculpted and painted really nicely. Like, that is very impressive. I don't know if that's actual paint or a decal in there, but it looks really good. We can even see the lips do have color, which is nice. And of course, the area where the face, cuts off and moves into the mask is pretty decently painted. This side actually looks really good. That side looks a little bit off, but not too bad overall. One thing that is pretty cool is the cape that Batman is wearing is actually a rubber, so it's fairly flexible. And within the cape, you can see lots of kind of creases and everything, giving that as well a very impressive, very realistic look. I think that looks really well done. As we move down through the course of Batman, of course, we've got the bat symbol there, right there on his chest. We can also see again that the fine detail is very impressive. You can make out all of the musculature and everything when it comes to Batman under his suit, which looks really good. Definitely some nice big strong arms as we move down. There is a little variation of color to the grays though. You can see this is a bit darker and this is a bit lighter when it comes to the grays. But as you move down, you can see again he's got his gloves on and everything. The hands look pretty nice as far as the sculpting goes. Looks like we've got a ball joint articulation in the wrist, which we will check out here in just a moment. Moving down, you do see again his belt right here, which is painted with a yellow, also nicely sculpted. We of course have his tights on right there, which are painted with a black, and then we of course move back to the gray before returning back to the black, again moving down into the boots, and you can see that you've got like all the musculature and everything sculpted out pretty nicely as you move down throughout the course of the legs. And again, even his footwear is really nicely done. We also seem to have ball joints again in the ankles. So as far as the articulation goes, yes, I was wondering, is there articulation in the neck? And there absolutely is, left and right, which is really good. It can also go up and down, so very nice looking articulation right there. The arms can move out away from the body, back down, of course forward and back, so lots of mobility there. As you lead down, Yeah, you can articulate this spot as well, so that's a swivel. Then you've got a nice elbow joint right here, and then you of course can swivel the wrist, and since it is a ball joint, you can basically move it all over the place. So very nice articulation for sure in the upper body of Batman. As we move down, we do have midsection articulation, which is also incredibly smooth. That can go forward and back as well a little bit. Seems like we have a little mobility in the waist. Seems like it does. Yeah, like you can kind of see it moving right there, but I can't get much in the way of actual articulation out of that area. When it comes to the legs, they can move forward and back. They can also swivel. You also have, of course, knee articulation, which my camera's losing focus on. So above the knee, and then maybe below the knee. There we go, yes. So below the knee as well. And then you move down into the ankles. Again, forward and back, can swivel. It is ball joint articulation there, so you've got the ability to pretty much articulate that foot into any area you want. And yes, you can even articulate the tips of his feet. So by far a super articulated version of Batman. Now I wish the Kong had similar articulation because it would be pretty awesome. It does seem to have some articulation, but not quite as impressive as what you see when it comes to the Batman figure. So the Batman is pretty darn sick as far as Batmans go. It's really well done. There is also this smaller version, which I guess is more to scale with Kong, I guess, depending on which version of Kong you look at, you know. Technically, this would be the Godzilla vs. Kong version, so I don't quite think that they would be more to scale at that point. I think, you know, Batman would be pretty minuscule next to Kong in that aspect, but if you look at, like, you know, old school Kong, like the original Kong, maybe a little closer to the right size there, I don't know. But again, the figure looks pretty close to the same as the larger one, just obviously scaled down a lot more and not nearly as impressive when it comes to the paintwork or anything. It doesn't quite have as much articulation. You can see the arms articulate. Does the head? Yep, the head does still as well. We do have midsection articulation for sure on this one, so you can swivel that, and then you can move the legs, and that's really about it, it seems, as far as the articulation goes. But again, sculpt-wise and everything, it's really well done, and looks pretty close to as nice as the larger version, but obviously the larger version is superior. And then we do also have this little DC stand that goes, well, it's got something on it there, but it goes underneath the larger Batman, but nothing really special as far as that goes. And then, of course, the reason that I bought this set would be for King Kong, and let's go ahead and move it up just a little bit. And if we begin here in the head sculpt of Kong, you can see it looks really nice as far as the fine detail, like the skin texture in the face of Kong is super impressive. As is the paintwork. There's like a black and then like brown applied over it, maybe dry brushed, I'm not too sure, but it definitely helps to amplify the skin texture, add a little variation of color, and make it look quite realistic. When you look at it from the front, we can very clearly see that the eyes are not applied very well. I would say they're probably focus camera. Yeah, they're definitely decals, but the one eye is looking off to the right, whereas the other eye is looking straight forward, so the left eye does look really good. His right eye, not so much. The nostrils are also sculpted out really nicely, again defined with a darker tone. As we move down, this version of the head has an open mouth, and we can see the tongue in there as well as the teeth, and I like that they've applied a bit of a darker wash there to the teeth as well as the tongue, but you can see the detailing of the actual teeth itself, and we can also see the detail on the upper side of the inside of the mouth as well. Moving up into the back of the head and neck of Kong, we've got very impressive fine detail when it comes to the fur. You can also see the ears sculpted out over here on the side. Some of the fur almost has a little bit of a look of like feathers rather than fur. Like as you move down, it does almost look like King Kong here has some feathers to him. But interesting, you can articulate the head left and right, and that's really about it. It doesn't go up and down. We don't get graced with the articulation that Batman has, so clearly they favor the Batman figure over the Kong. Once you move down from the head, you can see how crisp and impressive the fur there is in the head. But once you move down into the body, again, the hair, the fur of Kong does become much more muted. It's not nearly as impressive when it comes to the detailing aspect moving down into the body. We basically have a dark brown and then a lighter brown that's been dry brushed over to sort of help highlight the detail of the hair and fur, but it doesn't really look all that great. We continue to have that sort of like washed out look as we move down, and again we continue to have almost the look of feathers rather than fur on this figure, which is so silly. But as we move down, you've got very impressive musculature in the arm of Kong as you lead through the forearm and everything. Again, it does bulk up a little bit as far as the actual hairiness goes, but we have finer hair there on the underside and the inside of the arm and up there in the bicep as well. Moving down into the hands, you can see the hands are kind of curled in into a fist, so Kong is ready to absolutely punch Batman right in the face. You can see the fur continues to still have, again, a decent look to it. Definitely a little bit more impressive and more highly detailed once you lead into the wrist. Like, you can see a very obvious difference when it comes to the quality of the fur from the arm down into that area of the wrist. And then, of course, you've got like the browns and stuff and the black there. Same style paintwork as we had seen in the face. We can articulate the arms. They're on a swivel, so they do go forward and back. And trying to get a shot of the fingers, see if there's any paintwork for the nails. Nope, there is not, unfortunately. And then there is also wrist articulation. So at this point, like, it's not great, but it seems like the articulation is doing okay. As we move over to the other side, you do have, of course, all of those same things for the left arm as well, except the hand is in an open position here on this side. Maybe that's so you can grab and grip the smaller Batman and hold it in the hands of Kong if you would like, but you can see again that the hand looks really good as far as the sculpt goes. Should have painted the nails, but it is what it is. As you lead into the chest, you've got really impressive muscle definition throughout. You can see the pecs and abs and everything. We also have some scars there moving through the chest of our Kong. The skin texture itself is really well done. The paintwork as well looks pretty good. And as you continue to move down, again, we move back to the fur. Also, we do have a swivel in the midsection, so you can completely swivel Kong around if you would choose to. But this is the point where I feel like the figure gets pretty lackluster, because once you move down past the waist, there is just no articulation. Like, oddly enough, they didn't give him any form of leg articulation. We have, swivel articulation in the wrists. We don't have that for the ankles or anything, so I don't know why they chose to go super lazy with the articulation on this figure compared to the super impressive articulation on Batman. As you move down, you see pretty much the same look where you have like furrier areas and, finer fur in other areas moving through. You could see the muscle definition again, even through the fur. You've got the kneecap there kind of bulging out through the fur, which looks really good. And then you move down into the foot, and the foot as well looks really nice. Again, same style paintwork and everything, same style skin texture as we had seen elsewhere. And again, the nails are unpainted, unfortunately. And then you move around to the back, and pretty much the same sort of thing. A little less dry brushing, though. Like, you could see the dry brushing there of the lighter brown on the head, and then as you move down into the back, it just like instantly ends. So laziness for sure when it comes to that aspect of the figure. They absolutely, if they were going to highlight the fur and hair and everything all throughout with the dry brushing, you should have done that everywhere, especially in the areas where we have that thicker fur like you see there. This is exactly the same style fur as we have back here. Why would they not dry brush that out and help highlight it? Sculpt wise, again, the figure is really impressive. You could see even the muscles here in the back and everything as you move down. So it does look really good as far as the sculpt, even if some of the fur looks more like feathers than fur. But the paintwork does get a little bit lackluster, just like the articulation does as you move through. And then we do also have the alternate head with the mouth closed, which looks really good. And the eyes are definitely much better placed on this one, so I think this is going to be the superior head for my version, but you can obviously pull the other head off and then switch it out for this head if you would choose to. I think this head just really looks good, honestly. He looks super grumpy and miserable, like he's just getting ready to get angry at Batman right here, but still pretty cool. As far as a size goes, Kong is definitely quite large. You were looking at about 11.5 inches or a little over 29 centimeters, maybe even just a hair under 29.5 centimeters. So definitely getting close to, I would still say about 11.5 inches, maybe just a hair over. So King Kong over here is quite large. I guess he's not technically, well, at the end of the film, he becomes King Kong, so I guess we can call him King Kong. As far as this Batman goes, which I put the camera way too low for, height-wise, you are looking at about just a hair under 7.5 inches, or around 19 centimeters, and then we continue to move down, because we've got the smaller Batman, and for a height on that one, a little over 3 inches, maybe 3 inches and like 1/8, or about 8 centimeters. For a size comparison, here is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon in the Collect Day Human Being, next to the Kong and Batman set, and as you can see, the sizes are all over the place, so I can't really compare any single figure to another figure here. Like, everything is so vastly different from each other, it's crazy. So this is going to be a tough one when it comes to comparisons, and honestly, you know, I don't have any other Batman figures. This is probably the first Batman figure that I've acquired since I was a very young child, and who knows whatever happened to that other figure that I once had, but the Kong is probably the figure I would focus on more when it comes to comparisons, and even that one is going to be pretty darn big in the grand scheme of things, and I don't think I'm going to, like, maybe the Playmates figures that had come out this year, but I actually had given all of those to my son, and I don't have those accessible right now to compare. Just some random, you know, Godzilla stuff that I have in my collection, but I will grab some random stuff here and compare with the Kong. So here is the SH Monster Arts Godzilla that I own, and honestly, I think at this point you can very clearly see how much larger this Kong is. So I don't think I really need to do much in the way of comparisons. Like, I guess I'll grab the Hiya Toys Godzilla, but everything is going to be significantly smaller than this Kong. So there is the Hiya Toys King of the Monsters Godzilla, which is one of the largest Godzilla figures that I have in my collection, and clearly you can see that this Kong is still massively larger. So, you know, I can at some point try to grab some of the larger Playmates Kongs if you would like to see comparisons of those, and I can throw them up in like a shorts video or something if you would like. Again, I don't know how interested people are in seeing that, but clearly this Kong is massive. So this is a pretty cool set, honestly. Definitely not something I was expecting when I had originally seen this in Target. I had no idea that this was a thing. It wasn't until I was in store that I stumbled upon it and was like, whoa, that's kind of interesting. And then later found out there was a Godzilla coming as well, but it's very cool for a Kong figure, but the Kong figure itself is severely lacking when it comes to pretty much every aspect, I would say. Like, the actual paintwork looks good from the front. If you look at it from the front, you know, they did a good job of painting out the skin as well as the fur. Not great, but pretty good. Even like the scars and everything, which aren't painted all that well. They are a little bit sloppy and a little bit careless, I guess you could say, as far as the paintwork of the scars, but they look all right, especially if you take a step back. But like the actual skin and everything, I think is painted really nicely. But as you move through the figure, again, it is definitely lacking when it comes to some areas of the paint. You know, they didn't do a great job of dry brushing a lot of the areas out. Little inconsistencies from one side to the other, as well as some of the paint on the right bicep is dry brushed out. Some of the paint on the left bicep is not dry brushed out. So not really that great in the grand scheme of things when it comes to the actual paintwork. It's okay for what it is. And even like in the back, again, really lacking when it comes to the dry brushing. So there are some nice areas and some very questionable areas. The figure, again, sculpt-wise is awesome. It is really highly detailed, very impressive as a whole, and maybe one of the coolest looking Kong figures I've seen in a long time. The articulation, super lacking. We have very little of it. We really only have neck articulation, shoulder articulation, and wrist, and swivel in the stomach or like midsection area, and that's it. No leg articulation at all, which is really strange. And when you look at the Batman, he's so articulated, so it is sad to see that the Kong is extremely lacking in articulation overall. The Batman figures are pretty cool. Again, you know, for somebody that collects Batman, I'm sure they'd enjoy them. I don't really collect Batman, so it's not something that's super high on my list, you know, of things I wanted to get into my collection. Probably something that I'll also pass on to my son, because he definitely enjoys that stuff a little more than I do. I do like Batman, especially the old Michael Keaton versions and stuff. I love that stuff, but like, I'm not super sold on Batman. It's not something that I collect by any means. So if you like Batman, you'll probably like the figures. They are very nicely sculpted and nicely painted and really well done as far as the articulation goes. So if you are interested in this set, I will include a link in the description to Amazon.com, where you can purchase it if you would like to grab it, or you can, of course, find it in the store at Target, probably on the Target website too, I would think. So again, grab it if you want it, and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.